So guys, I have some really good news, and it's good news because it benefits you as well as it benefits me. So the old drone that you guys never saw, but you guys saw it in a few videos, or you didn't see the drone, but you saw some shots from it. I'm getting rid of that drone. The drone did what it was supposed to do. I enjoyed it. It got me into drones. I enjoy flying drones, but I have the DJI Mavic Mini, and if you guys don't know anything about drones too much, that drone is like 3 or 4 years old at this point, and it's a great drone. Like it's 2.7K. I want to say they updated it to shoot 4K 60 or 4K 120. I'm not exactly sure. It's like a lot of great features, but the quality is very iPhone-ish, and it doesn't have like object detection, object avoidance. It's just in general the quality wasn't what I wanted it to be. I kind of just got into it as like to dip my toe into it, just like anyone would. Like if you're getting into cameras, you don't get the camera that I have that's $3,000. You get you maybe start with your phone, or you maybe get like a $500 camera, and you kind of work your way into it. So that was kind of like what the drone was for me. So I really want to get the Air 2S, and I actually already bought it because I already got paid for the drone that I'm selling. So I'm really excited. I'm driving out to give it to him right now. Dude, I'm so excited, man. I've been wanting to get this new drone for a really long time, but it's just like I just didn't have the money. Like if I had a jump start, like if I got like $500, or like, just like an investment, just like a quick, like a chunk of change to actually get the drone, I would have been able to get it, but I just didn't have that. So now that I've sold this one, because I literally haven't used it, just because the quality isn't that good, and I really want to start putting more quality. I hate saying that because that's such an overused term, but I just really want to put more into my YouTube videos, because this is like the main platform that I really want to get good at and get big from. So I'm really interested and happy that I'm getting rid of this drone. It's really not going to be a sad farewell because I didn't have too many memories with it. It's not like my first car or anything. Well, it kind of is in a sense, but it's not. I'm really excited for this next better drone. So yeah, I'm really excited to get rid of this thing. All right, so the drone has been sold, the car has been washed, which it desperately needed to be, and food has been acquired. So I'm ready to go back home and chill for the rest of the day. I will check in with you guys before we go to the gym. Okay, let's have a real talk for a little bit about training splits. So if you've been on TikTok, or if you've been on like Instagram, or in the social media space, and specifically the fitness social media influence space, you probably heard about a guy named JPG Coaching. Really cool guy. I don't follow him, but I know a lot about him just because he's all about training optimally. Is this movement optimal? It's all about optimal, right? And it's a good thing that he focuses on that, because it's in your training, you want to make sure that you're doing movements that are optimal, right? That are the best, that you're not training a muscle group inefficiently. But I think ever since the popularity of him and how big he's blown up in the past few years ish, I'm not exactly sure when he blew, but he's been pretty popular for at least a solid year and a half at this point. People have been taking the word optimal a little bit too far. And recently I was watching a video by Alpha Destiny, which I always talk about on this channel just because he makes really good content, and he's natural, so I take his advice a little bit more at heart. So he was talking about the 5 mistakes he made as a beginner lifter, and one of the really big things that I thought was interesting that he talked about is that everything works. Every training split, it doesn't matter what it is, it's going to work. And it really got me thinking. I was like, that's really interesting when you think about it, because if you think about just in your friend group, right? Just think about your gym bros, all your friends and stuff like that. What training splits or what exercises do they tend to shy away from? Maybe they don't like doing rows. Maybe they don't like doing squats. Maybe their arms are too long, so they don't like doing deadlifts, or they don't like doing bench presses and stuff like that. All these different things, but yet they still have good physiques. They still have really good strength. They still are pretty aesthetic, for a lack of a better word, because they chose the path that worked for them. And at the end of the day, he made a really good quote, and this is like the overarching theme that I really wanted to talk about, is that consistency is optimal, optimal isn't optimal. And I was like, bro, that is so good, because if you really think about it, it doesn't matter how optimally you're training your lats, if you're doing that like behind the bench lat contraction thing that you see a bunch of people doing now. And I'm not even trying to crap on JPG, because he does have really good information, but it's just the way that people receive information and their general knowledge of fitness as a whole, you can tell is lacking. if they're taking so much of his advice to heart, because you have to realize, especially for fitness, it's not necessarily what you do now that's important. It's what's going to sustain you in the long run. If you eat chicken and rice every single day and you hate it, you're not going to do it in the long run, which means there's no point in you doing it because you're not going to do it for the long run. It's not going to benefit you over time if you get tired of it and go back to your old diet. And the same thing that works for exercise too. If you're doing an exercise, if you're doing movements, if you're doing things that you just don't like doing, you're not going to stick to it in the long run. It doesn't matter if you're doing a perfectly executed squat to target your quads, or if you're doing a glute bridge to perfectly target your gluteus maximus and lateral, like all these things, they don't matter if you're not going to do them consistently. So it doesn't matter what training split you have. It doesn't matter how many times. I mean, yes, these things do matter, but I'm trying to get you to understand the overall point. Consistency is more important than it is the training plan that you do. Like even in my friend group, I was talking to him. I hate face pulls. I think that they're stupid. I don't enjoy doing them. I could be doing them wrong. Full disclosure, I could easily be doing them wrong. I straight up hate doing them. But I have really good rear delts in my opinion. And the reason that I have good rear delts is because I did a crap ton of bent over rows. I did a bunch of seated rows, underhand seated rows, and all these different things that are indirectly or basically directly hitting the rear delts to a certain extent. And that has worked for me. I think I have a pretty good physique. The other friends in my friend group, he says face pulls are great. He would never not do them, and most people are doing them wrong, and he cannot live without doing them. And that's what I'm saying. Like, everyone has their own thing, but at the end of the day, if you're not consistent in what you're doing, it doesn't matter what the exercise is. It doesn't matter if you're doing the behind the bench lat pull downs at an angle. Like, none of that stuff matters, because if you're not going to do it consistently, it doesn't matter. Everyone has their own path and their own ways and exercises that they do to get to where they are, but it all works because you're consistent. That exercise itself, it's great as long as you're hitting the muscle. That's all that matters. You can go into the weeds and figure out exactly what is optimal to hit the muscle. 14% greater contraction, it's great, and that stuff is fun, and I do pay attention to that, but that doesn't determine the direction of my training. As long as I know I'm hitting the muscle groups, I stick to the basics. Squat, bench, I don't deadlift. I want to get into it. But as long as I'm sticking to the basics and making sure that I'm executing those with the best form and executing them properly and efficiently, I don't really matter about what's optimal at this point in my life. I just want to make sure that I'm doing things consistently, and then I like doing the exercises that I like. That's why maybe some days I'll rotate exercises. Maybe some days I won't do an exercise and I'll just completely leave it out of that training day. Because as long as I'm going there every single day and I'm pushing myself, it doesn't matter if it's optimal as long as I'm staying consistent with it. So that's kind of just what I wanted to get into. I was going to have like an extensive talk that went throughout the entire duration of the video, but that's kind of just where I'm going to leave it. That's all I really have to say about it. Also, side note. So last week I told you guys about how I was tracking my calories and stuff like that throughout the week. One of the things that my friend had me do was get a complete body scan so I can see like my weight, body fat percentage, skeletal muscle mass, all that stuff. What I found was really interesting, and this is just like a side note, this doesn't really have to do with the video, was it told me that I was 7.8% body fat. I want you guys to know this, and I'm not like, I just want you guys to understand, there is very few ways to get a very accurate reading of your actual like BMI, and it's not with the machine that you see in the gyms and stuff like that. Like the DEXA scan, the InBody scan, like all that stuff is pretty inaccurate, because I'm 100%, 7.8%, just to give you guys a scale, 7.8% is stage ready. Like I can step on the stage, flex, and get my pro card. I am not around that body fat percentage. I'm easily like 17 to 22-ish, around there. Maybe even like 15 or 16. I'm a little bit iffy about that, but I'm nowhere near 7.8%. So just a heads up, if you guys are getting like these like body scans and stuff like that, it's good just to know like an idea, but more than likely they're going to be pretty inaccurate. So just be on your guard if you're going to get those things, if you're getting them every month, or if they try to sell you on that as like the plans and stuff for the gym. Just be cautious. They're not completely accurate. So that's pretty much all I have to say for today, and I will see you guys at the gym for the last exercise of the day.